Good afternoon, class. Today we're going to be focusing on 6EE9, which is all about writing equations, making tables, and graphing from context, and being able to create the other three forms from one of them. It's also focused on the difference between independent and dependent variables, what they are, and how they relate to each other. Go ahead and get your note sheet ready. It says writing equations at the top. The first one should be pretty straightforward. You should know this one right away. A variable is a symbol, usually a letter, that represents a number. In the expression 2a minus 5, a is the variable. 2 is the coefficient, and negative 5 is the constant. In the equation 15 equals 3d, d is the variable. Question number 4, we describe how two quantities are related using variables. You will identify two kinds of variables, independent and dependent. The dependent variable depends on the independent variable. Typically, we will use x as our independent variable, and y will be our dependent variable. So what we plug in for x tells us what we get for y. So y depends on x. In today's examples, we won't always use x and y. We'll use letters and variables that relate to the context, but overall, y is dependent, x is independent. For the first example, the total cost, T, of hamburgers, which cost $1.95 each, depends on the number of hamburgers, H, to be bought. So the independent variable is H, or the number of hamburgers. The dependent variable is T, or total cost, because the total cost depends on how many hamburgers you buy. Number 5, Coach Talley will buy basketball shoes for each person on the team. Each pair of shoes will cost $98. Write an equation showing the relationship between the number of players and the total cost to be spent on the team. Go ahead and try this problem. Pause the video for right now, and then when you're ready, go ahead and play this. All right. Write an equation showing the relationship between the number of players and the total cost to be spent on the team. The first thing we do is we define our variables. What letter do we want to use for this? Let's go with N to represent the number of players. And let's go with C to represent the total cost. Okay, which one is independent and which one is dependent? The independent variable is N. The dependent variable is the total cost, because the total cost will depend on how many players play. So our equation now will be C equals 98 times N. And now the question asks us to find the total cost of buying shoes for 15 basketball players. So we substitute 15 in for N and do 98 times 15. $1,470. Question 6. Go ahead and pause the video now and give this a try. Mario is selling magazines for a school fundraiser. The school will receive $2.10 for each magazine he sells. The variable quantities are number of magazines sold and total money for the school. Assign a variable for each quantity. We'll choose N for the number of magazines and T for total money. Total money depends on the number of magazines sold. So total money is the dependent variable. Or T. The equation showing the relationship between these two variables would be T equals $2.10 times N, the number of magazines sold. Okay, the school made a profit of $105 on the magazines that Mario sold. So now we're going to use the equation to determine the number of magazines that Mario sold by plugging in what we know. This one's different from the last one because now, instead of knowing N, we know T. Go ahead and substitute 105 in for T. So we do a T-chart to solve this one. We're going to divide both sides by $2.10 to isolate the variable N. And we get that it is 50. So we write our sentence, Mario sold 50 magazines. Question number 7. Go ahead and give it a shot. Pause the video now. Heather plans to read 3 books each month. Write an equation relating the total number of books Heather reads and the number of months. Define the variables. B for the number of books, and M for the number of months. Okay, so the independent variable will be M, and the dependent variable is B. The equation will be B equals 3 times the number of months, or 3M. So now we're going to use this equation to figure out how many books she's read in 1 year. So since 1 year is equal to 12 months, we can substitute 12 in for our variable M and get B is equal to 3 times 12. Notice that it's not 3, 1, 2, but it's 3 times 12. And that answer is that Heather will read 36 books. Okay. Next up, number 8. Sam will mow lawns for people in his neighborhood. Go ahead and give this problem a try. Pause the video now. Okay, we are defining the variables. N is equal to the number of lawns, and M is equal to total money earned. The independent variable is N, because we get to choose how many lawns are mowed, and the money earned, or M, depends on how many lawns we mowed. Our equation will be M equals 12 times N. Okay, so in this particular problem, to solve it, we have how many lawns must Sam mow to have enough money to buy a video game that costs $64. So Sam needs at least $64. So 64 is equal to 12 times N. Now we draw our T-chart and solve. Since 12 is being multiplied by N, we're going to divide both sides by 12. And we find that N is going to be equal